we can't. You may want to restart your computer. Talking to Brian. Brian, we can't see your video feed. Holly, I'm going to mute you. Hello. One more minute.
Okay. I'll call this April 14th meeting to order, and we do not have a pastor tonight, so I will say the invocation and we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. If you guys will stand. Father, we just praise your holy name, and we thank you for all that you've given us. Father, I ask that you'll give our elected officials and our council members and staff and all the elected officials in this country the wisdom and discernment to make the right decisions for us. We pray that you'll heal our lands and give our citizens peace. In your name we pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I will make a motion to adopt the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the consent agenda, are there any questions?
I do have one comment in the general fund. The Island Women donated $4,984 to Carolina Beach to purchase 2 additional sand beach wheelchairs, and I just want to say, on behalf of council, thank you to Island Women for doing that. The only other question I have is, there was a memo from Ben Meister to Ed talking about, I talked to Danny, he's thinking $3,000 should cover the lumber, plumbing, et cetera, for the showers. It seems a little high to me, but let's go with it. It should have a cushion for mulch and other site improvements we end up with. We approved $6,000 for this project, and I guess my question is why is that? Right? I mean, when $30,000 was enough, why do we approve $6,000?
So that you're talking about the Hamlet Beach
Yes, correct.
project. That will be for upfitting that site, and then once we get it upfitted with the showers and bathroom facilities and the all the temporary facilities, we also have to take all of that down again in the fall, and then prep it for construction. So that's covering all of that cost. That's covering for standing it up and taking it down.
Okay.
So hopefully we will have a little extra where we can we build in enough where we won't spend all of that, but I imagine we'll spend most of it.
Thank you.
Any more questions about the consent agenda?
I do have one more, and I apologize about this. So the rules and procedures for electronic meetings is, so I just need definition on number 2. It says definition of electronic meeting. An electronic meeting is any meeting where one or more members of the council participates. My question is what is the difference between that and a quorum?
Are we going to look at Ms. Fox? Because we asked the same question earlier today when we had a meeting at 2 o'clock. Are you hearing that, Noel?
One of you to call, all of you attend by copy or Zoom. So let's at the emergency containment rise, and you're no longer to.
No, just let you know you're breaking up, and we.
Yeah, so Bruce, could you address that? Because we asked that question, and it has something to do with being in a state of emergency. Or maybe if Noel wants to call in, I don't know. I don't know.
I can get her on the phone.
Okay. I know, while he does that, we asked that question earlier. Steve, do you remember when we had our CBP3 meeting, and she referenced that in a state of emergency, it was considered acceptable way to
I think
vote and that sort.
what she told us was the CBP3 bylaws allow for electronic meeting, which covered a Zoom. She was going to address the electronic
Council can
meetings
hear
with
you.
council. Jay's question was more along the lines of a committee meeting, and what I think you read is if one or more council members are present, it's a quorum. I think it has to be limited to 2 council members. You can't have 3, which would be a quorum, but you could have 2 council members on an electronic meeting. I believe you can do that, is what Noel will tell us. The question is that an appropriate forum, and are we allowed to do that?
Correct.
And that's, I don't know, but we would have to limit those electronic meetings to 2 people.
There?
To either way,
council
yeah,
members.
whether in person.
More than 2 is a quorum.
Right.
So you got it?
Correct.
Let's see if we can.
Not all of you, or all of you. So that's the one or more.
Noel, would we be limited to a quorum of no more than 2, so that we don't have a quorum on an electronic, one more time?
You still have to have a quorum for it to be a meeting.
No, I think Jay's question was if we had a committee meeting and it was electronic and there was 1 or 2 council members, as long as it was limited to 2 or less, is that still an acceptable forum to have a meeting? Like we did with CBP3 today.
Right. A quorum is present and you've got a majority of the board either in person or electronically.
Okay.
So I think
Got it. Thank you.
I think what I heard is if you have an electronic meeting and you have 3 people, it's a public meeting just like any
Right.
council. In other words, the same rules apply. Is that what I just heard?
I believe so.
And the electronic meetings may be something that continues in the future. We don't know for how long, but it's been approved as a legal way to meet.
This policy addresses the exception over the rule. So we're under a state of emergency, so we can meet electronically. And it requires you to meet all of the regular open meetings law requirements.
Announcement and all that sort of stuff.
Okay. Thank you, Noel.
All right.
Any more questions?
I'm good.
Okay, so motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And before we move into the manager's presentation, I would like to recognize one of our students at Carolina Beach Elementary. I don't want us to forget about those things during these troubled times. We have a 2nd grader at Carolina Beach Elementary, Bladen Wellborn, who was recognized as the Star News Student of the Week. So we want to congratulate Bladen, and I've drafted a letter to send out to her, and I'd like to read it. Bladen, I want to take a moment to congratulate you on being selected for the Star News Media and O'Brien Service Company Student of the Week. Your hard work and your love for school and your community do not go unrecognized. I'm so proud of your accomplishments and the young woman you are becoming. Your teachers and principals feel that you are a perfect example of Carolina Beach Elementary School's vision, which is to value yourself, your community, your relationships, your learning, and your future. I am impressed by the fact that while only in 2nd grade, you've already had a plan for your education and career, and I love that you're planning to stay here in your hometown. You are doing great things, Bladen, and I'm so proud of you to be able to say that I know you and your family. I look forward to watching you grow into a successful, hardworking woman. So I'm going to mail this out to you, Bladen, and from myself and my council members, we want to say congratulations, and you're doing a great job. So awesome.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Congrats.
So thank you, Bladen, for being a great student at Carolina Beach Elementary. And we will move into the manager's update.
Thank you, Mayor Pierce and council. Just want to go over a few things of what we're doing here, some things we're looking at, and things we're preparing for next year, too. As you know, these past several weeks have been a trying time for everyone. People are concerned for their health, their finances, and they want to know things are being done to help return things to normal. The town of Carolina Beach is doing its part. The public might not see all the work and planning the town council and staff are doing during this event, or all the decisions that are being made, but there's a lot happening. Not only to slow the spread of the virus, but to also prepare for the summer season, to help with a hopefully quick local economic recovery, and to hopefully establish a sense of normalcy as soon as possible. We are in frequent contact with the governor's office, with our congressional representatives, and we are getting updates from them, information from them, and we are expressing our concerns to them. The mayor and staff have regular conference calls with the county health department, our neighboring communities, to discuss health data, best practices, ideas, and plans to not only slow the spread of the virus, but also how we can lessen the impact these restrictions have been placed on them, to lessen the impact on their daily lives. We do see reasons to be optimistic that things will get better soon. Just yesterday, some of the restrictions from the county stay-at-home order were lifted, and I'll go over those in just a minute. I think it's possible we may see some other lighter restrictions lifted soon, start working toward a soft opening of Carolina Beach and the surrounding areas. They may seem like small steps, but if we continue to follow the existing orders and the cases go down, we may see that we'll be closer to normal rather than later. We can look at things as possibly opening the beaches for exercise or outdoor activity, which is allowed in other outdoor and open spaces. Those are some of the things we're looking at and are discussing. And as far as the state of emergency orders, just this week, the governor increased social distancing measures for retail, limiting how many people can be in a store at one time. It's 5,000 people per 1,000 square feet, or 20% of the max occupancy determined by the fire marshal. The county reopened public and private marinas and boat ramps yesterday. They opened public and private tennis courts and pickleball courts. They can all be open again, and allowed safety, security, and clothing to be added to the essential retail list. And auto and boat dealers can reopen, but must follow an 11-point safety test to do so. We know that there will be substantial financial and economic impact to the town and to many of our residents and local businesses because of the virus and the restrictions that have been in place. As for the town situation, Ed and I have been working with Debbie and all the department heads on this year's budget and for the next upcoming budget. We're working with the state, the county, the school of government, the league of municipalities, trying to get estimates on what we can expect revenue loss, what we can expect for this year and next year. We know we're going to lose some sales tax and ROT funds, so we're looking at what we can expect to help us plan and to make sure we do what we can this year. We are only spending on essential things to help close out this year's budget and are working with department heads to reduce next year's proposed budgets. We're looking at different ways to save money, and as you will be considering tonight, we are taking advantage of the current low interest rates and we'll be refinancing some loans that will save the town over $60,000 over the life of their terms. We've assigned our project manager, Jerry Hare, as our point person for grants and federal relief funds, not only for the town, but for also small businesses. Jerry, along with Greg Reynolds from the Chamber of Commerce, are tracking and researching opportunities for our local businesses to help them recover. We've also discussed the possibility of creating a small task force between the town and the chamber to help small business owners apply for and find different options to help them out during this time. I believe Greg and the chamber are already doing a lot towards this, but we're going to try to offer assistance for them. We'll also start sharing this information and resources on our website as it comes in. We've also looked at how we can provide some utility billing relief to small businesses that are shut down because of the coronavirus. We've researched options, but it's a lot more complicated than we first thought. So we're going to keep working on that. We're getting guidance from from the state and federal government on different things we can do, and hopefully get some funding there to help us move along on utility relief and other relief options. In the meantime, we will not be cutting off water and sewer for people who can't pay their bill right now. So we will do everything we can to help them. And even though there's still many restrictions in place, we are cautiously preparing for the summer as if this pandemic was going away soon and summer season was ready to start. All of our departments have been working hard to prepare for the season and doing other things during this crisis. Most of them, as you saw, are watching remotely through Zoom, and they'll be able to answer questions later. But Ed and I, since they're out, not here, we'll go over and summarize what they're doing. But before we get started, didn't know if you had any questions about the actions we're taking.
You're probably going to go there, but one I think I mentioned earlier, but the boardwalk looks good. So I think the work that's been done up there, and especially with the new landscaping, I think you pointed it out, Jay, looks really good up there. And then the other question I had was, with the marinas being open, I'm still, and this is an honest question because I don't know, is Masonboro still closed? Is that true?
Yes.
Masonboro Island still
Yes.
closed? And will the north end of Freeman Park is closed as well? Is that correct?
That's my understanding. The Freeman Park is all closed, and I understand the north end
Okay.
is as well.
Just wanted to verify. Thank you, Bruce.
And while you're on that topic, we would like to encourage our boaters that are in the water not to go to Masonboro Island. Do not congregate there. That'll just create enforcement issues. So they've pressure washed the sidewalks on the boardwalk.
Yeah, they pressure washed, they've painted, they've installed the planter boxes, they've done a lot of work, and I think Ed will go over some of the things Brian and his crew have done. It looks really, really good down there.
Okay.
Bruce, I had a question. Last time we met, we talked about possibly working up some sort of a solution to help business owners who aren't open in regards to utilities and some sort of a leeway. Have we come up with anything yet?
Yeah, that's what it became a lot more complicated, and we've been working with Noel. There's some state laws about it's a all or nothing type of thing. We'd have to, waive fees for everybody. So we're working at some other options, whether we finance over or not finance, but help spread out payments. But we're hoping there's going to be some utility relief coming down from the state or the federal government that we can help administer to help offset some of the utilities. But we're not going to cut anybody off during this time. We'll make
Okay.
sure we do everything we can to help them.
With whatever you find out, can you bring back at the workshop?
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
And are we asking citizens to contact the chamber who need help navigating some of these financial
Yeah,
issues?
for now, contact the chamber, go to our website. We'll start putting some information on there. Greg's got a lot of information, and he will help, and then we will work with him to help him get this information out.
And you have Jerry here on that as well, and he is also researching things for grants and opportunities for the
Yeah,
town.
he's already put a whole list of things that are possible, and we're going to go after everything we can for us and for our local businesses.
Okay. Are you going to discuss the possibility of how we would open the beach strand, a soft opening, how that might look?
We've
Because
been
two of our public comments are asking that
Yeah.
question.
We've been going back and forth for a while, what we could do. We have talked about opening it mainly for exercise only, outdoor recreation, which the governor's orders, stay-at-home orders does encourage. Of course, keeping in place social distancing, not allowing groups of 10 or more, everybody keeping their space. It does, right now, the way we do it, does challenge our law enforcement to enforce it because there are people jumping over accesses and going in. We've discussed possibly open up certain accesses, maybe still restricting parking to keep the numbers down so we don't have an influx from, further inland coming into our beaches, that we may open one or two accesses or limit maybe one parking spot, parking lot, just doing things we can limit. We're looking at that as one of the first things we're doing. We're also, some of them's directed to the governor. We've also talked about the recreation field, some different things where people can get out and exercise, but socially distance.
And so, Bruce, you and I have been in a lot of these conference calls with the county commissioners and the other mayors and some of the things we're talking about. And we do have a plan how we would reopen. But just could you, for the public, restaurants and bars are not under our control.
That's correct. That is the governor. We got to wait for him. The orders that he put down are orders that we have to follow. We can go above and beyond what the governor sets down, but anything he sets down, we've got to follow. And the restaurants and the essential businesses that are allowed, that were governor orders, and we got to follow those.
So, so our order is now through April 29th because we've consented to the county's order,
That's correct.
which is also the governor's order.
That's correct. It goes to the 29th also.
So, and just want the public to understand that we have no control over the stay-at-home order or the restaurants and bars or the salons, actually.
Right, nail salons, barbershops, and yeah, we have that's governor's orders. We can go above and beyond, but we can't go less than.
We can be more restrictive.
Right.
Not less restrictive.
Right.
And so those are some of the things, just for you guys, that we have been talking about, is how we could possibly do a soft opening on the beach strand to maybe, like Bruce said, open a parking lot or a couple of accesses for people to exercise and just be in motion out there, because it still is a stay-at-home order. It's not a lay on the beach day, it's a stay-at-home order.
That's right.
But you can exercise. So we are looking at the possibility of how we could roll that out.
So exercise would include walking, surfing,
Walking,
swimming.
yeah, outdoor activities, yeah, I think those would all fall in place. Setting up tents or canopies and beach chairs probably wouldn't be
Correct.
considered. But I think we would work to make sure it is exercise-type things.
And we can't overwhelm our police force either
Right.
with, those kind of situations.
Right.
They have a lot to do right now. So if we are able to do this in the coming week or so, we would like, our citizens to abide by those rules, and we'll have what those rules are posted.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that would not include any of the public restrooms or any of that?
Now, I would assume we would keep everything, we would want to encourage people to get their exercise, get off, and not
Okay.
linger. So I think we would try to keep
And I
that.
think that's probably one of the biggest questions we've had is why can't we walk on the beach? And,
Yeah,
and for the public, it's not about that it's any less safe to be on the beach. We know that. It's that it's an attraction, and then it would draw so many people here from all over. And that's what we have to be careful of, because we're still looking at mitigating the spread of a virus.
Right, that's exactly right. And as the mayor mentioned earlier, we're meeting regularly with our fellow municipalities and local government officials to discuss these options that keep us somewhat on the same page, so we can all work together and make it
I'd
easier on
also
everyone.
like to, if possible, throw in parks, because we're getting a lot of response from residents in regards to parks and the children.
Yeah, I think,
And so they did reopen the tennis courts, and we could actually have a discussion about the dog park.
Right.
That is something that's come up. We have the control over the dog park, but until the county lifts the park restriction, we're stuck with that until the 29th, correct?
yeah, that's right. We can discuss the fields for no organized activities, but something we can discuss with them also. We can bring that up for consideration.
So we do. So you're making a plan for a soft opening on the beach, and just for the public, who that is their number one question. We are looking at that, and if we can put something together and get our county officials to agree, we may be looking at next week, maybe.
Maybe by the beginning of next week.
I don't want to
possibly
give you a
reopening.
date because we don't know, but we have to get some things worked out before we could do that.
I mean, I know we will be meeting later this week and discussing it, so maybe Monday at the latest, when the other order ends, maybe we can start the new order that includes access.
Yeah, I would just add that I would hope our other beach partners would come with us, because
Absolutely.
the last thing we want is, say, Riceville to open, all our people go there, or us to open, all the Riceville people coming here, that sort of thing. So I think if we can get consensus or near
Well,
consensus,
and
that
so,
would help.
so for transparency, that has actually been one of the discussions amongst the beach town mayors, is that we would do it at the same time. That way it wouldn't overwhelm our beach or their beach, and basically have the same kind of time frame. So yeah, that is absolutely.
I think that's a good idea.
Any more questions for Bruce?
Okay, I will quickly, before I turn over to Ed, go over, Chief Griffin could not be here today. It's his birthday, so I want to wish him a happy birthday and thanks for all he does. I hope he's watching.
Happy birthday, Chief.
Happy birthday,
I hope
Chief.
he's not watching.
Well, I hope he's
He's not
not
watching
saying I don't think he is, but he does a great job, and we're real happy to have him here.
FaceTime them later.
The fire department is implementing Zoom right now to conduct their volunteer training to make sure everybody stays up to speed, but the way they're keeping them out of the department, out of the fire station, so that's where they're getting them in here. Lifeguard tryouts have been delayed a little bit. They've been moved to May 2nd and May 9th at the Hamlet Beach Access. We're hoping there's no changes to that. They have to get some training done and orientation done by May 11th to meet the United States Lifeguard Association standards. I don't know if there'll be some movement there, so they're working on that. To help socially distance, because they normally have 30 or 40 people come in for the tryouts, they're going to give the returning lifeguards not have to go through the initial tryout. That way they'll have less at the first tryout, but the guards will have to still pass all the tests in order to be a lifeguard. They're just going to they'll miss the first tryout. They'll have to come to the second and do that. This way we can encourage more social distancing. And for the other updates, I'll turn it over to Ed.
So Mayor, Council, want to go through what some of our other departments have been working on. First, Parks and Recreation, they are building out more and better programs for the community, as most of our facilities are closed right now. And also you have on the screen is some pictures of some of the work that's going on in the Parks and Recreation Center right now, so they're improving the facilities, painting the walls, putting up this the bead board in there that will protect the sheetrock in the recreation center. New flooring being added, a lot of improvements being added. So when we do open up, it'll have that wow factor for the community, that they'll see that new recreation feel to that center. Just some more pictures. You see the improvements going up on the walls. This boarding will go up. All those walls are they get a lot of damage, a lot of chairs going against them, weights get put up against them. So this will protect them, make them really nice, pristine look for our recreation center. Planning and development. For all the orders that have been put out by the governor, the county, the town, construction continues, and it has slowed, as you see from the charts on the screen. There are a little bit of reduction from where we were this time last year, but we're still seeing a lot of permits come in, and we're very active in planning and development with managing zoning, CAMA, flood, and the building inspector is extremely active in managing the permits coming in and out. As far as code enforcement, there's a lot going on. On the right-hand side of your screen, there's short-term rental management is a new item for code enforcement. But your typical nuisance violations, high grass or debris in yards, you have my picture in the corner here, which I can move, but this type of activity is something that the code enforcement officer is continuing to address. Some of our planning staff, while we had this time, are working at other activities like coming up with short-term rental registration requirements. Something we've talked about in the past is a lot of communities have done, so we're looking at putting those requirements in place where we would mandate that a short-term rental would register with the town. So we're working with the county and TDA to put some plans in place for that. And things we talked to you about as challenges during the budget retreat, one of them was 160D is coming out, and how are we going to manage that? Well, this is kind of a blessing in disguise that we do have some time where our staff can go back and focus on making those amendments, putting those in place for our community, and getting those back to you, getting presentations back to you and the planning board as soon as we start meeting again. So some of the good things that they're working on behind the scenes while this is going on.
Ed, could I ask you a quick question?
Absolutely.
As far as the registration of the short-term rentals, how soon do you think that would take effect?
We're hoping to get it in effect for the new budget year. So the goal would be to get an ordinance in place, and when the budget starts on July 1, we would roll out a registration process for those short-term rentals, and they range all across the state. I sat in along with some of the planning staff on at the planning conference this past fall, and we sat in on some presentations on what other communities are doing. So we've learned a lot, and we want to do a basic registration process just so we get visibility, and we're not going to have the elaborate process a lot of other communities are building. Just want to gather that database for us and make sure that the things that are happening in compliance with the town's rules, the county's rules, and the state's rules.
And so for the public, if we had our short-term rentals registered, we'd know where they're located. We'd have a contact for them. So when we did our ordinance just a few weeks ago, we could have sent them an email and said, here, we need you to know you got to stop your short-term rentals. We had to go through the process of contacting Airbnb and VRBO, which was very cumbersome.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and I think that's great. That's something we talked about a year or two ago, and it's a great path forward.
Thank you. This slide, I think y'all have hit it. Public Works Department has done a lot down at the boardwalk. They've made a lot of improvements. I think y'all have hit everything on the screen. Looks phenomenal down there, so we're going to continue to, we really, you know, this is, we're looking at this as it's a terrible time for everybody, but this is an opportunity where we can really make Carolina Beach look great, and when we do open up back up, it'll be a place that everybody wants to be. So we're open for that big wow effect when we can open back up. We talked about parking as well. We have added quite a bit of golf cart parking around town. And top left corner there, you see the Surfside lot that we talked about that earlier too. But that's a ton of parking that's going to be added in there. This is down near Spartanburg. We owned a FEMA buyout property that really there wasn't a lot to it there, that we couldn't do a lot, but we put golf cart parking there. And we are improving beach accesses. I can keep moving me around. Beach accesses, and this, I think we put, he's got it in here, 27 new bike racks on beach accesses. So there's quite a bit of those going in. And public safety and stormwater improvements to beach accesses. The top picture shows just some improvements to help keep sand off those beach access ways. As our dunes grow, it's tougher and tougher to keep the sand off those access ways. So there's some blocking they've put in place. You can see in your corner here to manage that. They put that up on accesses up and down the beach, and it's worked fairly well. We put done some improvements at the lake to help us pump down the lake to lower levels to help out with storm events. And we're also continuing to do stormwater projects to manage flooding throughout town. So construction, public works, public utilities projects, 100 miles an hour. They're continuing, and we are working all over town to make improvements and make water, sewer, stormwater infrastructure better for the community. And I'll take any questions.
Yeah, could I bring up one on the lake? Could you just have some, the gazebo on the south side, right by the pump station? You know the one I'm talking about? Can you just have someone check that? I almost never go there, but it seems a little rickety, the actual ramp out there. I was just worried about it from a safety standpoint. If you could just have somebody look at it. It may be fine. It just seemed very weathered.
Okay. I'm looking at Brian. He's shaking his head yes.
Okay.
So just another question while you got Brian. Did we ever finish installing the valves on Canal Drive? I know we were missing a few.
Let's see. I'm going to mute me and unmute Brian. I believe we did. Let me see if I can. Okay, Brian.
Yes, ma'am. We finished putting in all the valves. I think they have one that's still not fitting right, and they have to tweak that. But beyond that, I think we're about done.
So he said, yes, ma'am. We are. There's one that they have to go back and
Gotcha.
and make some adjustments to, but all the others are in.
And so for the public, staff is working hard. They're working on the same issues before. The senior management is working more on the COVID-19 issues, while the other staff is working on their projects and getting things done. So, and we don't know what the summer's going to look like, but we're going to be ready for it either way. So, is that all you have, Ed? And we'll ask.
Actually, I've got two things. I got to put a plug in for Parks and Recs. They're getting all brand new equipment also, which has been ordered a while ago, so that's going to be very, very nice. And the other question I have is, have we followed up on the citations or the on short-term rentals? I know we talked about last meeting about maybe going back to make sure that they're still not occupied. Have we done that?
I know I don't know if Jeremy's got an update on that. I'm going to turn that over to him. All right, Jeremy.
Yes. we sent out the initial letter, and they were all complaint-driven. We've talked to majority of them by phone after the letter went out, and just let them know the rules. And we have not received any additional complaints, and or any pushback from any short-term rentals.
I do think it would be important to go out there and check to see if they're living there, personally.
Okay, and just so everybody heard, because I was changing, is a follow-up is what Councilman Healy asked us to do, a follow-up, make sure that we are following up and making sure people are staying in compliance.
Okay, any more questions for Ed? Chief Spivey, you have some updates for us?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I actually just spoke to Joe this afternoon, code enforcement, who reiterated that he'd sent letters out. I spoke with a number of them. I think some of that will involve some follow-up. If there's violations that are discovered, that's when they would report to the police department, and the police department would be seeking charges through the magistrate's office.
Thank
So
you.
that would be the process for that.
Perfect.
Our call service is about like normal, maybe a little under normal. The majority of our calls right now are some complaints with people being on the beach, but I think as the town manager has commented numerous times, the spirit of the law is there. We don't have hundreds of people on our beach like we typically would. We have 5, a dozen, maybe at the time. And we've still been going through an educational process, and people have been very polite and very compliant. They come to the beach and they just wanted to walk on the sand a lot of times, and they exit immediately. But the spirit of the law is being followed, which is positive news for us. We've had, like I said, we had our normal response to calls for service, which is some person crimes, some minor property crimes, and then you get to see the updates weekly in the paper to see what we're doing as normal police work. All in all, I'm pretty happy with the direction we're going.
So I hear you saying our citizens are following the rules, and we want to thank them for that.
Absolutely.
That makes your job easier and our job easier, and then we can focus more on what we need to do moving forward.
Getting ready to open.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking forward to.
I see you guys all over the place.
We tried.
So
Thank you for that.
you are patrolling the beach,
Yes.
and you're just telling people basically that the social distancing and they're not supposed to be there at this time, that kind of thing. Are you written any tickets? Have you had to write any
We
tickets?
haven't had any citations in the last probably week plus. So we did have some, maybe 4 citations, I think is what we've written.
In the
for
beginning?
Crossing over and trespassing on town-owned beach accesses. We've had a huge show of compliance.
That's
and
awesome.
Polite and understanding. I think that, like I said, the town manager said we're really, really, really close, I feel like. So if we can just hold on a little bit longer, I think that the soft opening that we've been discussing is on the horizon.
And,
Thank you for your support too, Council. I appreciate
and
it.
that's a great way to say it. Just hang on just a little bit longer and let us work through this. You know?
We're all in it together. I'm a citizen. I live in Wilmington. I go home and sit in my house too. So it's not only are we cops and public servants and elected officials, we're also citizens of some community, and we're going through the same thing. So I appreciate everybody's patience. Thank you.
Anybody have anything else before we move into public comment? So we're going to do public comment a little bit different tonight. Kim Ward sent out messages for anyone who wanted to submit public comment, would present it to her, and she has gave them to me. We have 3 public comments tonight, and I'll read each one. So I'll go ahead and get started. The first public comment is from Ms. Maureen Lewis of 1407 Croker. She has 5 items. I wanted to share that we are excited to have launched Carolina Beach Mural Project website. That's carolinabeachmurals.org. And I'll let one of the council members talk about that when I'm finished and tell you a little bit about that. It has received a ton of positive response from the community. The organization is under the umbrella of the Island Arts and Cultural Alliance, which allows us to work as a 501c3 and apply for grants, etc. We are working on a community fundraiser to be announced, of course, because of COVID-19, and hoping we can get started soon on commissioning some murals in the downtown Business District and Lake Park Boulevard Business Corridor. I was curious about the town's debt. I couldn't find anything on the website, so I wanted to ask, are we working with banks to refinance our loans? Money is almost free, and it would be a shame for the town isn't taking advantage of this opportunity to whittle down the debt and interest rate on outstanding loans. Where can the public find that information? And I'm going to just stop right there. I think Bruce addressed that in his management meeting. We did save right at $60,000 on a refinance of some of the loans. And so, Maureen, I hope you're listening, and Bruce can get you that information as well. I know the beach access is something many are missing mentally, physically, and spiritually. What is proving successful in Folly Beach and Waikiki Beach, also possibly other beaches, is limited access to the beach. People must be moving. No towels, chairs, sitting in the sand. Anyone who isn't walking on the beach or towards the water is ticketed up to $5,000. In Hawaii, beach is accessible sunrise to sundown. No one allowed on the beach after. Tickets have been written, and my sister reports that everyone is following this decree. Given that we may be looking at a few more weeks of safer at home, perhaps this could be implemented. Since there is no public parking currently open and available, this would keep visitors from storming over the bridge to spend the day at the beach. Just a thought. Cell tower. We noticed a brand new cell tower erected on ocean less than 100 feet from our homes on the 1400 block of Croker. Are there restrictions that limit how close cell towers are to the residential homes, or at least a requirement on notification to anyone living less than 500 feet from a new cell tower? The tower may be on federal land rather than town land. Not sure if you even were aware of that a powerful cell tower has replaced the old one. Would you consider, also number 5, would you consider allowing consider allowing committees, boards to resume utilizing Zoom? It would certainly help bring back some structure for the committees. We have work to do. So I think we may have answered your beach question. And I know this is public comment, but if you know anything about the cell tower, I'd like to hear about that too. I'm not sure what land that is located on. Does anybody know?
I'm not aware.
Okay, so we have a homework project if we can find out about the cell tower.
We haven't had any recent permits for a cell tower.
Maybe they replaced the old tower, she's saying?
Distance requirements from
It's a new tower.
residential zoning districts.
Okay, so Maureen, we'll have staff get on that, and that's a great question. Do you have to be notified if it's within so many feet of a residential home? So good questions, and we'll look into that and get back with you.
Mayor Pierce, I think I can take 5 because that's
You just asked that before we started, so go ahead,
that
Lynn.
was my committee that Maureen's talking about. So there's an order in place that says that we've canceled all meetings. So we're not going to have any this month. We're hoping that eases next month. I think from the conversations that I've had is that we can plan on, if we can't meet in person, we can plan on Zoom meetings or WebEx or whatever tool we decide to use. But there is still all the same requirements. If I got that right, Kim, there's still the same requirements of allowing public attendance. So we would have to ensure that the public knows how to connect, and they're allowed to call in and participate. So I would say we'll never get that done by next week, even if we wanted to. We're under an order to do that, but we can look at that next month potentially. So I think that's kind of the consensus of the conversation.
That was perfect, Lynn. I mean, we value our volunteers. It's just right now we need to work through this time and figure out how we can have our meetings. And maybe next month we can hopefully start some of those back, depending on what we're looking at next month. Okay, so I'll move on. If was that everything on her list?
Is someone going to
Do you know anything about the murals?
I do.
Okay,
I
I
do.
thought you-
First of all, if you have a chance, I highly recommend that you go to carolinabeachmurals.org. It's a great website. They've done a fantastic job on that. And what they want to do is the first mural they want to do a Welcome to Carolina Beach postcard as you enter in over the bridge, which would be fantastic, but we'd need to get NC DOT involved before that's approved. So I'm going to be working with Jeremy on that piece. And the other thing is your cell reception should be tremendous right now. That's all I have. That was a joke.
Yeah, I got it.
Wow, it's a tough crowd.
I got it. Well, thank
Oh.
you, Maureen, for sending those questions in, and very well written and Great questions. We'll find out about the cell tower. So I'm going to move on to the next public comment. This is from Mark Bentley. Regarding the free parking for boats in the CB boat basin, something needs to be done about this. There are mooring buoys in place for safe harbor and short-term anchoring fee, but there are 5 to 6 sailboats currently anchored in the basin that have been there for months, some over a year. These boats do not move. They have people living on them full-time. That means they are dumping their tanks in the basin. They are vagrants who are not paying to park. Why are they allowed to stay out there, and why are they not being ticketed for illegal dumping of raw sewage? Why is the harbor master not kicking these people out? During storms, they pull anchor and either end up hitting other people's property or running aground, which then requires assistance to be removed. Why are they allowed to sit there free of charge, and why is nobody doing anything about this? Okay, Mark, thank you for that comment, and if Ed has anything to say, because we have been talking about the boats in the harbor for many months now.
So that is something we've passionately been working on for a long time. And we talked about it, I think, at our last meeting, as we would start bringing back some regulations slowly to council, picking out what we can enforce. And that's the key, is what can we enforce. We've met with the state. I've met with them. The attorney's gone to meetings and met with the state representatives. And there's just not a lot of enabling authority for municipalities to manage things on the state waters, which is what we're talking about. So we have to be careful about what we do and what we adopt to make sure that we have the enabling authority to put that in place. And that's what we'll continue to work on and bring back what we can, that we can enforce. It's not going to be everything we want, but we'll do what we can.
Can we push that up the ladder to have someone else enforce it?
We really need the General Assembly to give, because when we talk to Wildlife Marine Fisheries, they're in the same boat. They don't have the enabling authority. We really need the state to come back, General Assembly to come back, and give that to the state municipalities, that authority to enforce some of these regulations. And we did go to some of these meetings and talk about these issues. I don't know if that's moving forward or not, but that's something that we have talked to the administrators, the public servants about. Pushing the General Assembly is another option as well, is let those folks know we're struggling. We hear it every month. Let them know that we need help.
Eddie, aren't y'all also working on something that'll require a verification of pump out? For me, one of the issues is the environmental problem of having sewage. You know, if they're moored there for an extended period of time, can we not figure out a way under our jurisdiction to require that they prove that they've gone to a local facility to pump out their sewage?
And that is in our draft ordinance, and we'll look at that. Maybe that's our first piece, if we can legally do that. Noel's shaking her head, so hopefully that means that's possible. So
Which way is she shaking her head?
shaking her
notice.
head.
Sometimes she's a no, sometimes she's a yes. Okay, I mean, that would be a start, right?
Right.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that is an environmental issue, and if we can't get them to move along, can we at least verify that they're following safe practices as far as disposing of sewage?
Right, protecting our environment. Right.
And Ed, what's your best guess? I know you guys are weeding through this, trying to get to something you can enforce, but do you have any idea of when maybe some of those would become effective, when they would come to us?
We can bring those. I think we can bring that amendment back fairly quickly, and just focusing on that piece of it. We've been working with Larry Denning, our harbor master, to help, and we're training him so he can actually enforce some of that. He does have a little boat where he's been working with these and educating these.
She said May for the first piece. Thank you, Noel.
Okay.
Thanks, Noel.
Old school.
So-
Technology.
Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Bentley for submitting that question, because we do have some issues that we need to address, and we're just struggling with legally how we do that, and we want it addressed as well. So we will certainly be taking those measures as soon as possible. So the last public comment, and forgive me if I say your name wrong, Tim, My name is Tim Makuta, and I live at 313 Birmingham Avenue, Unit 2 in Carolina Beach with my wife, Amy. I would like to ask if there's any thought to opening our beaches for exercise only. This would allow the opening of more space for residents of CB to get outside and exercise. Similar measures are in place up and down the Atlantic coast, including the beaches in New Jersey and Virginia. Georgia has already opened their beaches. Our police department is already patrolling the beaches so they can make sure people on the beach are adhering to the CDC COVID social distancing guidelines. You can even use our lifeguards to assist from their lifeguard stands. As long as the town continues the no rental under 90-day policy and keeps the town lots closed, there should not be an influx of non-resident owners on the beach because of the lack of public parking. We pay taxes to the county. We buy parking permits in the town, and we support local business in the town. We should have the right to walk and fish on our beaches. We would love to see this addressed and hopefully get a positive response. Given the fact that the cases in New Hanover County are low and the state is approaching or has passed peak breakout, this should be considered and a reasonable step to loosening the COVID restrictions. I have attached a picture of the sign in Virginia and linked to the guidelines on your information. Okay, so I don't have the picture, but I want to thank you, Tim and Amy, for submitting that, and I think you may have heard some of the discussions about the possibility of how we would look at a soft opening for just that, for exercise purposes tonight. So we are working on that. That is part of our reopening rollout, so give us a little time on that. We do have a few hoops to jump through. But thank you for submitting that question. That is a possibility on the table. So, okay, guys, that's it, Kilmright, for public comment. This is the first time we've ever had public comments submitted online like this, so this is new for all of us as well. And there is no public here at Town Hall. So we're going to move on to item of business, approval of financing terms for refinancing Wilmington Beach paving and CBP 3.
Yes, this is something we mentioned earlier in presentation, an opportunity to refinance some existing loans we have, and the CBP 3 committee met today and recommended approval. They approved it, and so what it is, it's going to save us a little over $60,000, reducing some of our rates from 3.47% to 2.67%, and then one from 2.88 to 2.53. And Debbie's available if there's any questions in more detail on that.
Do you, we voted at CBP 3. Do you need anything from us?
Yeah, I think you guys have to approve us to also so we can officially apply for the refi.
The refi on Wilmington Beach.
Yeah, for both terms. There's actually two. Just lost the page now.
Support resolution. What, the CBP 3 is a support resolution, so you need to approve both.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I'll make a motion that we give staff approval to refinance the terms of the Wilmington Beach paving and the CBP 3 loans for reduction in interest rates for savings for the town of Carolina Beach. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And you know, Bruce, I was just thinking about that might be a good idea. You know, maybe somewhere on our website we could have some bullets about some of the things that are going on like that.
Yeah, we'll put that together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so this may be one of our shortest meetings in history, but non-agenda items. Does anyone have any non-agenda items? I'll start it down there with you, Joe Dan.
I have none.
The census, I can't talk enough about how important the census is to this town. Right now, New Hanover County is at 44%, the state's at 45.4%, and we are at 27%. The bottom line is, if we don't get proper federal funding we need, where's the money going to come from? It's extremely important that we take this census seriously and talk to your neighbors. You have to be 6 feet away. Talk to your neighbors and the rest of the community to get this done. It's extremely important for the town. And the only other thing I have is Tom Bridges, former councilman, had open heart surgery a month ago. So we just want to wish him well, council.
Yeah, just Tom, if you happen to be listening, we wish you a speedy recovery, and I'm glad you're doing well. I know you'll be back on the golf course soon.
Yeah, I spoke
ahead,
to Tom.
Lynn.
Spoke to Tom today, and I think his goal is to be able to walk 3 miles a day by the end of the. So I think he's doing well. He seemed to be in good spirits, but I think we all agree, wishing Tom well. Mayor Pierce, I only had one. Is really a question. Was we had in our order we had short-term rentals, and then of course the county order came in and superseded that, I assume. So just because we didn't mention it specifically, if people have questions about short-term rentals, those will go when the county order goes.
Correct.
They'll go the direction of the
We're
county.
we're now in enforced to the 29th,
Right.
and we'll know at that. Hopefully, we'll know sooner than later what the governor's going to do, and we'll know if those will be released or not. So we just don't know right now.
Yeah, I just know for those people in that industry, they
Oh, I
they want as much as you know as a hotel owner. They
Trust
want
me,
as
I
much
know.
forward notice as they
Yeah.
can possibly get, but we just don't know.
Right, because you can't book anything when you don't know, and we just don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Steve?
Nope, I'm good.
So I'll just make a couple closing comments, and it's to Jay's point. We got a text from Mayor Benson, who's still on that committee. We are, in 2010, we were at 68%, and we were shooting for an 80% registration with the census. So, and I know everybody kind of got sidetracked, and it's 44%. So we really need you to go do that. It is help me, Jay, my 2020 census.
My 2020 census.
My 2020 census.org. I went on today. If you do not have the little card with your number, you can still go below it and it says, I don't have my number. And then you just put your address in. So everybody in every household should be doing this. And it only helps us with our funding and different things that we need. So, and the only closing comments that I have is I just want to thank the citizens for bearing with us during this difficult time, and know that we are working hard and we are changing week to week on what is going to happen for us here in Carolina Beach. So just be patient, follow the rules, just respect each other, and we'll get through this together. And we are working hard for you. We'll let you know something soon about the beach strand, what we can do there. And as soon as the governor says we're safe, and know that, by the way, public health and safety is our #1 concern. That's #1. But we got to get you back to work too. We understand that. So we're doing a balancing act here on what is the best thing for us to do. So just know that we're weighing out all that, and we'll move forward as soon as possible. So thank you. Anybody else? All good?
Good.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.